All right, everybody, welcome back to Bean Snowball for the Week 18 recap. The regular season has come and gone. So we got all the scenarios all wrapped up. Gonna get them all right here too. Christian, let's get it started with Saturday games.
Yeah, so let's open it up with Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Although, starters sit out, the starting quarterback of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, did sit out, but regardless, it was still, a pretty tight game for the most part. I mean, it was pretty much a defensive battle coming into the second half until Pittsburgh did get the upper hand here, getting a couple scores to get into pretty much the comfortable lead here. And obviously this game, TJ Watt going down with, I believe it was his knee. It was an MCL tear, which is it's better than ACL. So you really dodged a bullet there, but it will be without him for a couple of weeks. And coming into the wild card spot, it is going to be a major loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Depending how far they make it, TJ Watt, he could make a possible return, but that's still here to get updated with. But starters were out. This is really a game for Pittsburgh, and you got the upper hand here. So obviously Pittsburgh, they really got to fight for that spot. They played hard out here. Baltimore, defense was showing up towards the second half for the most part. They had a lot of opportunities to score and get the lead, but obviously Tyler Huntley and that offense obviously really wasn't going when they really needed to. Gus Edwards, he's also going to be another main factor with the run game for the Baltimore Ravens come playoff time. And Pittsburgh Steelers, say what you want, one and done in the playoffs, say whatever you want, but with the Mason Rudolph's been playing quarterback, and with the George Pickens finally getting a small resurgence, possibly they can go far, but it's really a lot to say here.
Yeah, I don't know what much you can really say about the Steelers. I mean, they're kind of just stuck in that football purgatory, but I mean, we'll see. You never know if they can make some noise, but that'll be a topic to get into for our next video. And moving into the final game on Saturday, the Texans and the Colts. This did become the de facto AFC South Championship because of a result that we'll get into in a bit. But CJ Stroud, man, I mean, shout out Pat McAfee. He made the Loud House the Stroud House this time, and it was just phenomenal, right from the start. I mean, sure, the Colts did work on a great drive to get a field goal right from the start, and Stroud just shut them right up with a 75-yard touchdown. And Nico Collins, obviously, Collins himself, and both of these guys that were out with injury, we kind of thought, maybe they were going to be kept away and not really be factors at the end of the season. Clearly, that's not the case right now. They're firing on all cylinders. Game did kind of start simmering down for a bit. Kind of did get a little boring within the middle of it, but of course the Colts did make this a game. Made it nice and close. And I mean, it was just unfortunate. Obviously the big deal here, with that play call. I mean, I'm not gonna blame too much on Shane Steichen. I guess the main thing here was that timeout. I guess you probably wouldn't have wanted to call that timeout. If you don't get it, you still had your three timeouts to maybe get the ball back in case Houston didn't do anything. But it's hard to see when you're throwing to your third string running back. But I mean, at the end of the day, Texans got it done, and we'll see how much noise they can make in the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously it's really a lot to hear. I mean, not really know why Jonathan Taylor wasn't out on that fourth down play. Who knows? But obviously, once again, it's just a game of inches, man. And moving on to the next game, which is, not really a huge game here with nothing really at stake here. The Cleveland Browns, they already had the fifth seed locked. I believe it was the fifth seed, if I'm not mistaken. They already had the fifth seed locked up. Cincinnati was already eliminated from playoffs the week prior. So this game really was just a regular rivalry game, nothing much here. Cincinnati, well, they blew out the Browns, but not necessarily a huge win since the Browns, rest their starters. Joe Flacco was out of this game, obviously. Bob Burrow was probably taking a nap somewhere, getting recharged for wild card weekend. But obviously, really, the Cincinnati Bengals here, what they're going to do in this offseason. Obviously, Joe Burrow, with that injury, you would assume he's going to be very, very healthy. But from this past couple of years, Joe Burrow, he's just something with him not being able to, succeed in the first couple of weeks of football. The meme out there, post week 4, Joe Burrow, that's where he starts to shine. That may be the case, but Joe Burrow, this is already his second career-ending injury, and it was a big fall off for the Cincinnati Bengals. But that's really a lot to see coming to this offseason. Sure, it was a nice win against the division rival, but nothing really to lose here. In Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco, this is another sleeper team in the playoffs to see where they go far. Obviously the NFL scriptwriters, they've been cooking up this season, which we will get into with the next games.
Yeah, of course, just a meaningless game nonetheless, but I guess a little morale boost to end the season for the Bengals. And moving into, I guess, another game that in the grand scheme of things was pretty meaningless, the Vikings and the Lions. I mean, Dan Campbell did play all his starters, I guess, with that slim chance that the Cowboys and Eagles would drop their games. Obviously, half of those, the main thing they needed did not happen. And This win did come at a big cost with Sam Laporta going down for the Lions. That's going to be a big loss. I mean, nothing's official just yet, but it is expected for him to have to miss the wild card round, which very important game there. That of course, this is another thing we'll get into a little later, but I guess probably is a little alarming to see them get. I mean, almost outplayed. I mean, sure Jared Goff absolutely got outplayed by Nick Mullins. I mean, he's just that big game, that big throw guy. I mean, sure he'll get some good. He'll throw those picks, but I mean, he kept Minnesota in it, and I mean, at the end of the day, they hung around. So that's it. Kind of it's about that defense that the Detroit Lions, that secondary kind of seems to be regressing after such a phenomenal start to the season. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we'll see. We'll see if this becomes a problem come playoff time.
Yeah, really, that's really the only downside to the Detroit Lions is that defense starting to look like it was last year. So obviously, really got to make a lot of adjustments before next week. And I'll probably be moving on to one of the bigger games of the week. The title for the NFC South. The AFC South. Jacksonville, man. I mean, let's just say we picked Jacksonville, but we called it. Tennessee was probably going to play spoiler. That's exactly what it did. Will Levis, man. I mean, he had a pretty good game, and we've already been have this talk already. Will Levis, he's probably going to be starting for next season for this Tennessee Titans team. So Ryan Tannehill, I'm pretty sure his tenure's done. Same with Derrick Henry, that's already decided. Derrick Henry probably not going to be returning, so he already said his farewells to Tennessee. So obviously that could another separate video to talk about for Derrick Henry or possible trade candidates in the offseason. But this Jacksonville team, this is one of the two teams that had a huge downfall this season. I mean, you just can't start 8-2 and then just finish the season 9-8 and lose playoffs. I mean, that's that downfall needs to be studied. Other than the Eagles, which we will get into as well. But that's really got to open your eyes for this Jacksonville team. They were the 1 seed at one point, and then I don't know what happened or something that just had them a huge decline. I mean, Dougie P, I know you said it a couple times. The coaching was a little iffy, and then Trevor Lawrence not playing to the expectations. So that's really a lot of concern for this Jacksonville team. And this is one team you really need to start looking concerns in the offseason because you had the great shot at the playoffs, and then for Tennessee. Same with Tennessee. A lot of regrouping coming to build the quarterback play. Still in situation with Will Levis. Could he be the future for this team? I think he could be maybe a couple more years. Little mentorship, but he can definitely take this team somewhere. And then obviously in the running back room, Derrick Henry. He's probably going to find another destination to come off season.
Yeah, I'm looking at Will Levis. Looks like he's going to get thrust into the role. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill looked like he was saying his goodbyes as well. But, I mean, like you said, for this Titans team, we kind of said they were going to play spoiler. I was telling you, I really wish I would have picked them here. I was rooting for them, nonetheless, to let the other game be the AFC South Championship. But just a surprising game here, to say the least. And moving into another, I guess in the playoff scheme, this was pretty meaningless. But I guess this had a lot of draft implications. The Jets and the Patriots. Christian, we did not cook with our.
We did not, bro. We did
our pick in this game. We said, Bill Belichick, he would not lose to the Jets to close out his career. But I mean, I guess that Jets defense and Sauce Gardner, obviously he did at that post game interview. He knew he wanted to take that upon themselves. They wanted to send Bill Belichick home with a loss, and exactly what they did here. I mean, sure, a snow game. It was probably the worst conditions that they could have wanted, and I mean it was a horrible game. Let's just say that. I mean it was a really ugly game, 6-3 going into the fourth, and sure the Jets offense, I guess, picked it up a bit. Breece Hall definitely had a really nice fourth quarter, but I mean just overall, I mean Jets probably wouldn't have minded dropping this one anyway to maybe keep their draft stock a little worse. But I mean the Patriots, they lock up that third pick. Will that hurt their chances at getting Drake May? Obviously, that's been their guy for a while. We'll wait and see. But I mean, see how those draft implications turn out.
Yeah, this is just a really boring game. But these two teams, another prime example. They got lots of fixing to do come this offseason, especially with the quarterback room. And moving on to probably the game that we expected the outcome, but lots of controversy towards the end. I mean, the Falcons got absolutely stampeded by this New Orleans Saints team, and just how we expected. Arthur Smith's tenure, he was fired yesterday, literally right after the game. So obviously, it would have been such a huge surprise.
Wait until midnight but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So pretty much after the games, but later on in the day, he did get fired, which was expected. I mean, me and you would have been very, very surprised if he kept his job. But I mean, come on, you put up 40 against the New Orleans Saints. A lot of Derek Carr has been having a pretty iffy season, but this must suck, man. Especially on your division rival putting up 40 on you. And then let's talk about the last play, man. I mean, Jameis Winston and the consensus with the whole team for Jamal Williams to score, just to rub it in the face. And, Arthur Smith getting pretty upset about that. Sure, I know. It's an unwritten rule in the NFL, don't score when, winning formation, this and that. But, I mean, sure, you can make the argument. I may be biased just because of famous Jameis, but, it's a division rival. There's no whatever this is. Like, it's a division rival, you got to let it slide there. But regardless, it was I would say meaningless game at the moment. Yes, they were still fighting for the South, but with the Bucs win, it really came meaningless. So this is pretty much just for a morale boost. But the Saints really went through this Atlanta Falcons team, and this Falcons team with the quarterback and the coach, still a lot of turmoil going on in Atlanta. That's I guess an understatement you could say.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Just long overdue to fire Arthur Smith. Obviously, we kind of wanted this to happen since the middle of the season. I mean, he's definitely been holding the Falcons back, and we'll see if all these pieces that they have can actually come out and flourish with a good coach. And obviously, hopefully, they pick up a quarterback in the offseason. Now, moving on to the other game in this division, the NFC South Championship. As it turned out, the Bucs, all they needed to do, win and in, and really ugly game, but at the end of the day, the Bucs got it done. I mean, sure, it was against the 2-15 Panthers. It really didn't take much. It looked ugly, of course, but I mean, they got it done. Baker really didn't look good. I mean, 137 yards, not getting a touchdown. You kind of put this in a bunch of other games. This was one of those really ugly games. I don't even know what to talk about with this, but I mean, hey, Chase McLaughlin really got a little workout, getting 3 field goals. He was all the scoring in this one, and I mean, well, like I said, we'll talk about this one later, but the Bucs matchup, it's looking pretty mid. A pretty mid Monday night game that we're gonna get into later, but just I guess this game really did epitomize the NFC South.
Yeah, I mean, really, I would just draw a little bit of a concern, not putting up that many points on this struggling Carolina Panthers team, especially, coming to playoffs, which is, a very sight to see with this Bucs team. But, regardless of that. And now moving on to the next game, which is a lot of more implications instead. The Green Bay Packers, once again, Jordan Love, my take on Jordan Love paid off this offseason after his little slump. But man, he really got it done, especially against his Chicago Bears team. I don't recall who was the underdog in this game. I'm pretty sure it was the Bears coming in as the underdog. A lot of people still, thought Justin Fields would get it done. But, Jordan Love, he's really leaning into this Packers team. All the controversy that, Packers don't have Favre now. Now it's Packers don't have Rodgers. Well, now it's going to be Packers and Love. You see, hopefully, I really hope it's not just a one-season wonder like we see with most quarterbacks. I really hope to see Jordan Love succeed in the near future with this Packers team. I'm for sure he can get it done. Just a couple more weapons, boost up that defense. And this Packers team can go back to its original roots, how it was with Favre and Rodgers. But there could be a sleeper in the playoffs, especially, the Cowboys will be hosting them. PTSD triggering here, but that will, more takes for that would be for a separate video. But this Packers team really got it done against this Bears team. Sure, they could have scored a little bit more, but this was against a resurgent Bears team that was finally picking up the brakes, especially with Justin Fields. Now with the Bears, with the coaching situation with Matt Eberflus, you would, obviously some Bears fans, you would want him to be fired. Obviously, there's still, no speculations yet on how his coaching job is, but they do got the number 1 pick, and we would expect them to get Marvin Harrison Jr. That would be a huge connection with Justin Fields.
We would want that to happen, but
yeah, we would want that to happen. We see the
reports.
We would want that to happen. Yeah, lots of reports. We would want that to happen. You would hopefully think it's the thing, but with the whole quarterback situation, who knows? But it could be a very, very great connection with Justin Fields and DJ Moore in the upcoming offseason.
I mean, you would love to see that, but at the end of the day, we're seeing all the reports. I mean, Justin Fields kind of did keep saying, if this is his last rodeo, and it does look like they're leaning towards Caleb Williams. I mean, I really don't like this. I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously it wasn't the way he wanted to go out. This would have been, a good performance in this game would have been kind of to cement himself. But I mean, unfortunately, it looks like the Bears are probably going to go in that direction. And like you said, for the Packers, great way to finally sneak into the playoffs. And like I said, some PTSD triggering. We'll wait and see next week. But well, into another meaningless game in the Broncos and the Raiders. I mean, this one really, I can, yet again, I can't really think of anything that matters aside from Antonio Pierce probably here playing for his job. Obviously, we know the speculation here too. Jim Harbaugh is probably a big candidate for them. And, like what I was saying, I love Pierce. I think he probably deserves this job. But at the end of the day, how worth it is it to have someone that's going to need so much help? I mean, he's, a defensive coach, doesn't have a lot of experience. We'll see what they end up deciding. But, I mean, it was definitely a great send-off. I mean, sure, Jarrett Stidham did outplay Aiden O'Connell, and we know he's probably on his way out. I would love to see the Raiders pick up maybe I mean, hey, maybe that's a landing spot for Justin Fields or maybe a Kirk Cousins, but we'll see for that. Maybe Russ, but I mean, it's the Raiders are definitely trending in the right direction. As for the Broncos, just a horrible way to end off the season. I don't know what the hell they're gonna end up doing. I mean, like we've been talking, they're gonna struggle to find free agents. I mean, Sean Payton's gonna struggle. Where it's a lot of turmoil. They're right in the middle of the pack for a draft, so they probably wouldn't even be able to draft a quarterback. It's gonna be a big struggle, and we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, obviously the Broncos, a lot of turmoil going down. It's going to be a big struggle in these probably the next couple of years. But, for the Raiders, you would hope this Antonio Pierce situation isn't another Versace situation where they let him go. Really love to see Antonio Pierce probably lead this Raiders as a head coach for the years to come. Now moving on to the next game where, I know me and you, we were leaning on picking the Giants, man. We were this close to picking the Giants, and oh man, did this Giants team really once again show Philadelphia's true colors. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he just had a shitter, and then he ended up getting benched from Mariota. You pretty much went for mid. I mean, jokes aside, it was a really bad game for the Philadelphia
Eagles. You can't call it a benching. Yeah, I mean, you get.
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, injury. Yeah, obviously, jokes here and there, but it was still a lot of line to play. Division was still into play. I mean, sure, yeah, with Cowboys and the Commanders and the Philadelphia here, one of these teams had to lose in order for the other ones to get the division. So this was still another game where Philadelphia, they really had to put the brakes in here. Sure, they were out without their cornerback, one Darius Slay, and then their number 2 receiver, Devonta Smith. Sure, that did play a big part. I'm not gonna, ignore that part. But you still have a so-called top 5 receiver, AJ Brown, who really wasn't helping at all. I mean, let alone Jalen Hurts.
I mean, he got hurt in the middle of there too.
Yeah, he did get hurt in the middle of that too. But against this Giants team, you would hope to get them, a couple more points up there in the first half against this Giants team.
I mean,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, but once again, I was watching the Cowboys game, and then I see the score on the top left, and I'm like, Giants are up 24-zip. I'm like, what is going on in Philly, man? So obviously, from starting 10-1 and finishing 11-6 down from the 1 seed to the 5th seed, it's a lot of stories coming here for the Philadelphia Eagles and the wild card, especially coming against the Buccaneers team that shouldn't be slept on.
Yeah, and like we were saying, I mean, we were seeing there was still those implications, and with how that Cowboys game started, it was a little iffy there, but just just horrible collapse. I mean, just like you were mentioning, the Eagles and the Jaguars, just it's got to be studied, man. There's I don't know what's going on there. I mean, first round exit could be. I mean, are we questioning Nick Sirianni's job at this point? There's a lot of conversations going around there. It might be probably overstepping, but definitely when we look at the culture, it's a lot of concerns for the Eagles going into the playoffs. And of course, another game going into my division now, and the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I mean, this one, I mean, sure, at the end of the day, Rams won, Packers won, nothing really mattered. Seahawks were out regardless, but it was nice seeing Kyler cook up the Cardinals for most of this game. I mean, obviously, he outplayed Geno. It was really nice. I mean, I own a Kyler jersey. I had it out here just for kicks, but I mean, it was great for him. I was really, really pulling for it. Obviously, it did come down to that Matt Prater field goal. I expected him to make it. You always expect Prater to make those, but it was a long kick, definitely not a gimme. So I mean, the Seahawks did pull this one out. Sure, a little moral victory, but I mean, they were expected to sneak in. They were expected to make some noise. Definitely a big disappointment to go out like this. I mean, honestly, they gave up controlling their own destiny after that loss to Pittsburgh last weekend. A lot of head scratching going into the offseason for them. And just to throw it out there, Bobby Wagner did leave the Rams to play with a contender. Look what happened now. Seahawks are out. Rams are in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner still had a good season. I mean, 183 tackles, Pro Bowl. I think he led the league. So obviously, still another big accolade for his Hall of Fame resume. But sure, honestly, he probably should have stayed with the Rams in that case. And now moving on to the next game, which, I guess it was just another meaningless game. I mean, with the Chiefs locked up with the 3rd seed and then the Chargers being eliminated a couple of weeks prior to this game. I mean, this game started off, both ways. I mean, Chargers had a lead at one point, Chiefs had a lead, Chargers had a lead again, and then Chiefs ended up winning this game, obviously. And then Chris Jones, obviously the deciding factor with the sack. I think, congratulations to him, not him and a couple other players from different teams. He got a $1 million incentive with, I think, the sack that he got in the game. So obviously, Chris Jones is there, and then he's gonna be a really big factor to this defense of the Chiefs. Who they've been known to struggle, not known to have a good defense, but obviously mid-season after week 9, that defense is starting to pick it up a bit, and let alone with the offensive struggles here. The Chiefs are still, on the other hand, sure, they have the 3rd seed, but I would still draw concern with this Chiefs team with the receivers, them leading the drops with a little over 40 drops in the league. Mahomes still not looking like the Mahomes type himself, and Travis Kelce, I would say having a down year. Sure, he was, I believe, 16 yards shy of his keeping his consecutive streak of 1,000 yards. But for what matter it was, he didn't play. But I would say he's still still a little iffy for him, especially in a couple games. But a little bit of concerns to drop for the Kansas City Chiefs here. I wouldn't expect them to be a first round exit, maybe divisional, but hopefully Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they can turn something around here come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm not too concerned with the Chiefs going into. I mean, look, it's a different animal when you get into the playoffs, and they did get a pretty favorable matchup if we're being honest, the way things are looking. So, I mean, get out the first round will probably happening, but we'll wait and see. It's still the Chiefs. It's still Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and you really can't bet against them no matter what the situation is. Now, of course, into my game. The streak is over. The Rams have finally beaten the 49ers. I know this was, at the end of the day, pretty meaningless. I mean, sure, we were playing for that 6th seed, but I don't care. Get that monkey off our back. It just feels so good. I've been pushing for this. I mean, sure, that NFC Championship, that was the one that mattered. Getting that monkey off our back was good too, but so they can finally shut up about the regular season streak. I mean, I don't care that it was backups. I've been seeing people talk about it like, oh, they only won by 1, and we were playing our backups. Rams are playing their backups too. Rams are playing the backups for the most of the game. The only main starter that was really playing was Puka Nacua, and he was just in there to get his record. I mean, everyone, I believe it was just Kittle, Purdy, and McCaffrey that was really out for the whole game. They still played a good amount of their starters, so I'm taking this one with a grain of salt. I'm taking this one as a great win for the Rams. And like I was kind of mentioning to you earlier, I mean, the Rams weren't even playing their best game in the first half. I mean, we were just focused on getting Puka the record, and obviously that took a lot of the focus away from the game plan. Once we got into that second half, phenomenal game, and I'm gonna get back into it. Brett Maher missed an extra point. I get it, it was windy in Levi Stadium, but that's not an excuse. I mean, we're gonna keep him in the playoffs, clearly. I mean, I'm not seeing anyone else. I mean, Rodrigo Blankenship was someone I was kind of looking into that we probably that was another ideal pick to pick up. Not gonna happen, obviously, but I mean, regardless, I mean, it's just so many positives to look into here. I know we were just talking about was it Tyler Johnson that a pick of former Buccaneer finally getting into the end zone for the first time in like 3 years. And let's talk about Carson Wentz. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. I've been pulling for him for so long. It was just so great to see him, even as a runner, leading the game as the lead rusher in this game. I'm just doing everything. Obviously, the game-winning touchdown. He got into the end zone to get it within one score, and I forget who we tossed it to take the lead. But I mean, regardless, I mean, just great overall. And I kind of did gloss over this, but Puka Nacua getting the rookie records. It's probably not going to be enough to overtake CJ Stroud, but I mean, regardless, just a phenomenal season for him. So glad. I didn't call all this, but I definitely called him being a big focal point of this Rams offense since the beginning of the season. Ever since you struggled pronouncing his name and all that stuff, and since the preview of the season, just really feels nice to see him getting into this stature. And just to close this out with the 49ers, I mean, this is exactly, I mean, they don't care about this at the end of the day. Sure, maybe it hurts them a little bit to lose that streak, but they got, even with whoever they did play, they got out of this without any injuries. So great for them, and they got another week of rest to really get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want about this game, backups, who played who. It doesn't really matter. I mean, Rams, they got into the playoffs after, starting off 3-6, and this is going to be a really great morale boost. And I know for you too, coming into next week in this playoffs team. And now moving on to my game, which, locked up the division with this game, and how Philadelphia, with how the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Giants. I just wanted two things, man. Dak Prescott, consideration for this MVP. I mean, sure, it was Washington, but look at the stats. I mean, he's leading the league in touchdowns. He's top 5 in mostly every quarterback stat, and arguably, I would say he probably would have had this MVP on lock if he didn't sit out those fourth quarters. I believe he sat out. I think it was 7 or a little more than 7 fourth quarters, and he probably would have broke 4,000. I mean, he probably would have broke 5,000 pass yards, or maybe in 40 plus touchdowns. And I probably would have broken he probably would have got the MVP on lock. And sure, quarterback play this year, sure, call whatever you want, say just because Dak Prescott's up there that it's been mid. And sure, you can make the argument quarterback play this season, it has been, not the best season, because really, Dak Prescott stats, you can consider this as a horrible Drew Brees season. And I mean, sure, you can make the argument for that, especially with Drew Brees, that 1 year, not him getting MVP with, the stats he had, but obviously that's, not past. And then CeeDee Lamb, receiver one. He just defined himself as a receiver one here. And, I feel like, he was utilized in weeks 1 through 5. I feel he would have had the offensive player of the year on lock. He was ghost the first 5 weeks, him not getting the ball. And, after that Niner game, he started picking it up and Dak Prescott was feeding him the ball. McCarthy changing the scheme. Say what you want, but I do think if he was more involved, he probably would have broke 2,000 yards. Let's just say that without a doubt. I mean, he was at 1,700 yards. Without a doubt, he would have got 2,000 if he was more utilized in the first 5 weeks. But this defense still a little bit more concerns. This Washington game, it looked exactly like Thanksgiving game. It was neck to neck. First half and then second half, it's really picked it up. Dak Prescott was finally, taking over. Tony Pollard too. Tony Pollard was looking really, really good. I mean, where was that this whole game? I mean, the way Tony Pollard looked against Washington, sure, horrible defense. He's gonna be really great. That run game's gonna be very crucial come playoff time. And the connection with Dak and CD, Jake Ferguson. I think it's time to consider him. Top 10, maybe top 12 tight ends in the league. It's very, very possible for him. And then the cornerback situation with Stephon Gilmore with the shoulder, it was just separated, popped it back in place. Smart idea to not play the game, but he's good. The only thing I'm really concerned about is DaRon Bland. He's starting to look like Trayvon Diggs 2.0, man. The interceptions, but allowing too much yards. Really, really hope he gets to that defense can turn it around. Maybe DQ. Please make some good adjustments before the Packers game. I don't care. It's the Packers. They're still slept on. I don't care. DQ, please, because if anything, it's gonna be the offense that's gonna really, take us over with Dak and CD. But nonetheless, really great executed game by the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not gonna say it's our year because that's not the Cowboy fan I am, but I do have a lot of hope really do have a lot of hope. And then for Washington, Sam Howell, I feel he is the guy. Just getting some weapons, Washington, they could possibly be, pretty decent team.
Well, I think you bring up the Sam Howell conversation. I think they're definitely going quarterback in the draft, if we're being honest. I think, gonna be a topic for a video in the future. I kind of do have my own reservations on who they're kind of keeping an eye on. And another video idea to look out for. I mean, this MVP narrative. I'm definitely thinking, that the Lamar thing, does come with some recency bias. Honestly, we look at the stats. I mean, as much as a Cowboy hater myself, probably not to the level of a lot of people, but Dak is definitely one of the more deserving guys for the season. I would definitely say it. I would definitely put him above Brock Purdy for a lot of people's lists. But regardless, on this game, a great win for the Cowboys, and just, hey, going into wildcard weekend with a really important game coming up. Of course, closing this out with the most important game of the week, Bills-Dolphins. Hey, the Bills were definitely getting into it. As banged up as they are, they definitely played a great game. Sure, this was a pretty sloppy game to start. Tua threw a pick, Josh threw a pick, Josh Allen then threw a even worse pick. I don't know what the hell he was doing for that first half, for the first quarter, when I think, but hey, he cleaned it up. He played a phenomenal fourth quarter. I forget who was that punt return, but oh my god, that was the momentum swing above all else. That kind of did swing this game right back into the Bills. Obviously Dawson Knox getting into the end zone to take the lead. Dolphins really couldn't do anything from there, and then obviously that phenomenal run to close this game. I believe it was on fourth down by Josh Allen to really ice this game. I don't know. Mike McDaniel really got out-coached in this one. Really, Sean. We were really drawing concerns for Sean McDermott. Was he on the hot seat? And definitely looking after this game, kind of cools that down a bit. The Bills end up with a 2 seed. Dolphins drop all the way to 6 after basically having that 2 seed the whole season. So it's a tough swing for them, but obviously the playoffs, everyone's back to 0-0, and it's a different animal. So obviously this is just a great win for the Bills nonetheless.
Obviously, there was the division on the line, and Buffalo Bills, they were the team to win it here, and obviously still two concerns with both these quarterbacks. It's just the turnovers. That's really what's going to screw up in the long run. But nonetheless, this is well executed by both the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, so obviously that wraps up another phenomenal regular season. The playoff picture up here on the side, and script writers just absolutely outdid themselves with this one. Looking at these matchups, Stafford back in Detroit, McVay against Goff, obviously a great game here. Looking at the Cowboys and the Packers, obviously all of this we're gonna get right into with playoff preview. We'll go in depth on the wild card and then give you guys our full bracket. But before we go, we're gonna look into the final regular season prediction recap. And Christian, I finally got my get back after, I guess, a big choke job last season. If anyone remembers, I did have a pretty sizable lead, and slowly but surely you came back. But this week, I mean this season, more than anything, I did kind of hold that lead, and I extended a bit in this week with, you know, you didn't believe in the Steelers to pull this one out. That one really did help me. And of course, you know, it was my belief in the Rams finally ending that streak. Ended up with a 5-game separation on you in the end. Just I'll take that more than anything. But of course, that wraps up this video. Wraps up another phenomenal regular season. Just definitely enjoyed watching this one. This one definitely had a lot to come into it, and the playoffs. Obviously, you know, like I kept saying in this video, it's a different animal. It's going to be a phenomenal one. Can't wait to get into it with you with this one, and we'll see you guys for the preview.